This is week 11 science. We are doing parts of a flower today. So we'll go over the scientific method, question, research, hypothesis, experiment, analysis, conclusion. And today we're going to explore the parts of a flower. We're going to discover how all the parts work together to help the plant thrive and survive. So we're going to do journaling with this. So you're going to need your science journals. I can tell you the materials really quick just so you know what you need to bring along in case you're watching this really quick right before. Pencils, colored pencils, live flowers, which I will provide for you on that morning, paper plates, parts of a flower diagram, and the answer sheet that you'll have in the bin. You'll need your science journals and Why with Miss Wizzle, and all that will be provided for you. A couple things I'm just going to bring on the morning of because obviously the live plants would die if I gave it to you now. Okay, so we're gonna start out by saying, we're just gonna look at this live flower and forgive the fact that this is dead, but it was the only live flower I had in my house because it's Minnesota and it snowed today. So observe a live flower, and this is gonna be a beautiful live flower that we're gonna buy. And we're gonna talk about what are the parts, what do we see on the outside? And we're just gonna let them have just a couple minutes, really short, just sketch what they see in their science journals, and just talk that scientists, when they're writing in their journals, don't necessarily make a perfect replication, but just some details so that they can remember what they saw. So we're going to talk about different ways that we could observe a flower. How many senses could we use? And we can talk about how we've talked about the senses before, but we can see it, we can smell it, we can touch it, we can even taste it. We're not going to taste these flowers, but you can talk to the kids about edible flowers that are on cakes and that kind of things, or in recipes. So you can have them guess how many senses do you think we could use to observe this, and then after that we can count them and they might get a kick out of that. So what does it feel like? What does it look like? What does it remind you of? Do you have a memory with the flower? You won't have time to share all of those, but maybe you could have them make connection hands or raise your hand if it reminds you of a special occasion or that kind of thing. Try to kind of involve them in when you would see a flower in real life. For our question or purpose, we're going to discover today what are the parts of a flower and what we should be learning about them while we study them. So we'll start out with a verse, and I have Matthew 28 and 29 here, so you can read that to them. And then we're going to start with some questions. What kind of questions might you have after looking at this flower? So you can go through those with them. And what have you already learned about flowers? They might have a ton of stuff that they know about flowers. Let them share that at that time. If not, I've got some things in here that they can also use. You can even put it to music and dance with the flowers. That works too. What do you still need to find out? So we're going to ask some questions. Scientists ask good questions before they start an experiment. So in the next couple weeks, we're going to be learning about leaf shapes, parts of a flowers, and plant systems. So what are some different parts of a flower, and why are they important for the plant? What are the names of the parts of the flower? Maybe just by looking at this flower, the kids can tell you, I see petals, I see a stem. They may know the basic parts, so let them go ahead and tell you that just to get them involved. For the research aspect of that, we want to ask good scientific questions. So you'll go ahead and read with them the Why with Miss Wizzle that you'll have. And this goes through all the parts of the flower, very scientific, and you'll go through that with them. And say, did you know there were so many parts of a flower? You can kind of get them involved in that way. So then for our hypothesis, because it's a flower, what are we going to guess? We're going to say, do you think the inside of this flower is the same as the outside? Do you think there's anything hidden inside? What do you think that those would be a hypothesis? Let them make it. You don't necessarily have to have them share it, but we want them to be making the questions in their head. So even if they don't share the hypothesis, say everybody get a hypothesis and either jot it down in your science journal or have it in your head for the littles. What do you think it'll look like if we cut it in half? Do you think the flower will look like the one we saw on the diagram, or the Why with Miss Wizzle, and will it have the same parts or will it have different parts? You can talk to them about that. So that's going to be their hypothesis. And for the experiment procedure, it also has the materials listed again here. And what we're going to do is we're going to carefully cut the flower in half this way. And I didn't bring a knife with me, forgive me, but you'll put it in as well as you can. I'm going to give you probably razor blades, so don't let the kids get a hold of those, but we want to cut it as close to half as we can, so each child will have a half of a flower on their paper plate that they're looking on. And we're going to lay it open and have the students point out the parts of the flower they can see. We have to notice that there's going to be differences and similarities between the different kinds of flowers that we show them, because I'm hoping to get a bouquet so it has different kinds of flowers to show them. And some parts might look the same and some might look different. They're all there. It just might be harder for them to label or to point them out. And just start with that, because then some kid might be like, I can't find my that's okay. It might have gotten squished when we cut it, or it might just be hidden in that flower, or maybe it's a little older so you can't see it. That's okay. Make sure they know that in a perfect world we would be able to see all these parts, but that's why we have a diagram, just in case all of our flowers don't look exactly like that. For our analysis results, all flowering plants grow from seeds and make their own seeds, and you kind of go through the science of it, and there's a lot of science also in the conclusion. But you're also going to have the students label this picture, and they'll probably do this more towards the beginning. I think I missed that in there, but if you follow the script, you'll see it in there. They'll go ahead and label the diagram, and there's also a cheat sheet for you tutors as well. I'll also include some pictures of flowers that we won't have with us, just so they can see the variance of God's creation and the different flowers that He made. And that is about it for week 11. Oh, and then at the end, I forgot. I wanted to say at the end, after we've cut open those flowers and let them look at it, allow them an opportunity at the end to sketch what the inside of their flower look like as well in their journal. So they're having a before and an after, outside and inside. And you can even, if you have time, talk about what's on the outside. What's on the inside of someone might actually surprise you. You might not be the same as what you see on the outside. So you can kind of make that connection with them as well and tie that to real life. That's all.